Welcome to Tanya Today. Mystical teachings. Yeah, mystical teachings from the Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine. And it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Daily Tanya. And we say hello. We say hello to Dam in Indonesia. Michael, good afternoon to you in Germany. Julie in Florida is with us. Batya in Montreal with David. John is with us in North Carolina. Liba and Davida, good morning in New York. They speak Yiddish. As so does her father. He should be gesund and well. Scranton, Pennsylvania. Susan is with us. And Anna in Budapest. Shalom. Laura is in Charlotte, North Carolina. Welcome. And Usher in Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee, that is. Who else is joining us? Marla in Pakistan. Oh, no, Maria, sorry, in Pakistan. Welcome. Greg and Paula in Bakersfield, California, bright and early. Gary is with us in Pennsylvania. Simcha in Florida. Samita, welcome. David in California. Tim is in Texas with us. Who else? It's raining in Northern California. Okay. Heather in Connecticut, welcome. Katie in Texas, good morning. Ken is with us in Puerto Rico. Welcome. Jean in Pennsylvania has joined us. Chaya Gittel Bas Devora should be well. Sandy in Michigan. We have with us on Clubhouse, Vilma and Batya, and together with Michelle, Luz, Celeste, Adam, Tim, David. Okay, beautiful. We conclude today, believe it or not, the 27th letter. In this letter, the Alter Rebbe is giving condolences, bringing condolences to the followers of Rab Mendel Haradoker, who passed away in 1788 in the Holy Land of Israel. And he is explaining to us today, as he did back then, and more today are learning this and being inspired by this than back in the day, of what the greatness of a tzaddik is, of a righteous person. As the Zohar is quoted to say that a righteous person is more accessible, more found, more real after their passing than during their lifetime. During their lifetime, as we learned yesterday, it's a soul and a body. And to connect to their ruach, the spirit of their soul, is only by way of the body. By way of the body. Meaning, we only connect to one another, to their soul, by the means of the vessel that the light of the soul is contained. And that vessel is the physical body. Therefore, it's through their physical actions or actually through their speech and thoughts that are garments of expression of the soul, that we get a ray of glimmer of the emotive disposition, which is their faith, awe, and love of God. We only get a connection to that through, again, the vessel, the body that contains the soul. Therefore, there's a limiting factor. You got to hear what they say. You got to be connected in a way that they're thinking about you, that they imbue you with a limited form of connection. However, when they pass away, what happens? The body no longer is a container of the soul. So not only is the soul literally, not bound by the body and therefore can be accessible anywhere and everywhere, but the quality of what we connect to the tzaddik after their passing is to the very essence of their emotional disposition, to their ruach level of the soul, the spirit of them, which is again their faith, awe, and love of God. And we get the core essence of it, not mere glimmer that comes by way of the vessel of the body. So we get the core essence. And that's what we learned previously. Now the Alter Rebbe goes further. That's their faith, their awe and love that they had during their lifetime of God, that continues, because that's an intangible. That's not like, that's not like doing lunch, right? That's not like the physical things that we have in our lives that after we pass don't come with us. The old story of the wealth, they say it about the Reichmans, right? That no, not the Reichmans, I'm sorry. No. The banker family, the Rothschilds. So one of the Rothschilds, and I forget which one it was, that in his will, he put that he wants a pair of socks to come with him after he passes. Now, and that's what he wrote in his will that was open right after his passing. And then he had another will that was open 30 days later. So, of course, the Chevra Kedisha wouldn't allow that socks be buried. You take nothing with you. However, and you take nothing with you. So they went against the will, the will of the Chevra Kedisha, who are the people in charge of the burial society, the Holy Burial Society, and buried him without the socks that he wanted. They opened up then on the 30th day, Shloshim, his second will. It says, by now you probably know that I wasn't buried with my socks. And the reason is, there's nothing that you take with you. You don't take your wealth with you. You don't take any physical possessions with you. But what you do take with you is your Torah mitzvahs. Your faith, awe, and love of God, likewise you take with you. That remains with us. That goes with us. So, that's what we learned previously, right? That the tzaddik, after leaving this world, still takes with him what he had in this world, him or her, right? Faith and awe and love of God. But as righteous, it's not for themselves merely, but they imbue it, they vest it in us. But the vesting in us means, and as we explained previously, because of the bond of love that we have with the tzaddik, we're capable of being vested in an internalized way, that faith, awe, and love of God can be real for us. It can be real for us. That's what the tzaddik, being connected to tzaddik, can give us. So that's what we learned previously. Now the Alter Rebbe says there's something else that comes from the tzaddik. And that is not based on faith, awe, and love. I mean, I shouldn't say it's not based on it. It is, but it's another element. It's their Torah and mitzvahs that they fulfill. Now, of course, the Torah and mitzvahs that a tzaddik fulfills is on a much loftier level because of their faith, awe, and love of God, no doubt. But this is a divine service that when we do a mitzvah, each and every single one of us, when we do a mitzvah like we're doing right now, what we create is a union between the male and female parts of the divine, which is, what's the male and female? Malchus is the feminine aspect of the divine, and Zoh, Zer Ampin, small faces, the 6 emotions are the masculine part of the divine. And there's a union that's created between them. And as we've learned previously, we've learned this many times, that creates, as every union creates life, whether literally physical life in a child down here, and if it's not physical life, it's spiritual life that we create through a physical union between husband and wife. And that is a metaphor for us to understand that when we do any mitzvah, like learning Torah now, giving tzedakah, charity, putting on tefillin, lighting Shabbos candles, whatever it might be, we create that union above. Now, that union is an all-encompassing light of God. And it's not something that is, what's the word I'm looking for, imbued or internalized, as opposed to the faith on love that is internalized. The act of doing the mitzvah and creating that union is something that actually encompasses us when we do that. Now, the tzaddik, and their divine service throughout their lifetime, creating this union and the tzaddik's actions of Torah and divine service of all of their life, touches what we call the soul's source. The soul's source, which is what we call Chakel Tapuchin Kadishin, which means the holy apple orchards. So his divine service implants a lofty illumination above. In this, the source of souls, which is the source of his soul and our souls, above. And during the lifetime brings an illumination, but the greatest of the illumination is actually after his passing or her passing. After their passing, it reveals, it descends below, actually in the time of their passing, and it illuminates and radiates over those people that have a connection to the tzaddik. Okay, what does it mean over? Encompassing, which means it's not permeated. Love is something that's a feeling that you have the inside. Awe is a feeling that you have. Faith likewise, in a sense. That's not what it produces. What does it produce? What's the effect that it has on you and I? It has an effect of that brings us to have to be inspired to do tshuva, penitence, and good deeds and mitzvahs. And not just now, but successive generations. In other words, the Alter that passed away 200 years ago, over 200 years ago, 212 years ago. 210 years ago. The effect of their passing that it illuminates is constantly illuminating for successive generations. In other words, today, you and I, we're part of the successive generations of the Alter Rebbe. We're part of the successive generations of our Rebbe, right? And it is affecting even offspring. The what? What is it affecting? that we will be just somewhere, somehow, and think about it for yourselves, folks. So actually, we'll get there, you know what, when we take this apart. It will radiate in a greatly hidden and concealed way because it's an encompassing light that's, again, not internalized, like love and awe is internalized, right? Just like the sun radiates, radiating to the stars that are below the earth. So the Zohar says that, in reference to Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, that after his passing, he radiates and extends to every generation, to the souls of those generations. Just like the sun, which radiates 600,000 stars below the earth. So as it is with Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, so it is with all tzaddikim, righteous people, which are his successors. By means of Torah and their divine service, every tzaddik illuminates successive generations and their offshoots. There's first, of course, his direct disciples. So the Alter Rebbe had his direct disciples. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, had his direct disciples. But in turn, they're disciples of their generations after generation after generation. And we're being affected. So we're being affected now by the Alter Rebbe. That's what it means. And that concludes. Let's unpack this. So first, the good news is that we're being affected by the Alter Rebbe. We're being affected by the Rebbe. Of course, there has to be the connection to them. And you're connected. The very fact that you, and some of you, are here day in, day out to learn Tanya from the Alter Rebbe. I'm just a mouthpiece, but it's the Alter Rebbe's teachings. You're learning from the Alter Rebbe, from his teachings. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, I think it was maybe the Rebbe Marash said that when you're learning Tanya, it's like the Alter Rebbe learning with you. Learning with you. So we are those successive generations. The fact that we come to learn, want to be connected, we are. And think about it for a moment. Perhaps when, there are times throughout our day or throughout the week, whatever, that all of a sudden we're aroused just to be more, to do more, another mitzvah, to do tshuva, to better ourselves. Where's it coming from? We don't arouse ourselves to do tshuva. So it's all like, okay, I put into my daily activity at, 11 a.m. every morning, I'm going to meditate upon Hashem and do tshuva. You probably don't do that. At least I don't. At least I don't. Maybe you do. But I don't, right? But it comes to us at times that we're inspired, that we know we got to be more, that we know we need to do more mitzvahs, that we know we need to become closer to Hashem. If you're Jewish, you need to do another one of the 613 commandments. If you're not Jewish, that you're, 7 Noahide laws. Where's it come from? It's not coming from us. It's coming from beyond. Perhaps it's coming, and this is what the Alter Rebbe is saying here, is because of a connection that we have to a tzaddik, that tzaddik, because of what they accomplished in their lifetime, imbues us. The first thing that we learned in an internalized way, and that comes from a great love and connection that we have to that tzaddik, that we're going to be imbued in an internalized way with faith on love. That's going to be much more deeper and profound. Here, it's not being internalized. It's coming from their divine service, their Torah, that the actions that they fulfilled in this world, that ascends above to the root source of their soul, the holy apple orchard, Malchus, above, the reservoir of the souls, that creates a union then and illuminates then the world, but it comes to a great thrust after their passing that illuminates the world then and successively afterwards. Not just then, but successively for all generations afterwards. Think about it. Moshe Rabbeinu passed away 3,253 years ago. A long time ago. Long time ago. More people learning Chumash today. His book, the 5 books of Moses, right? You know why? Because we got big noses. So we put our face into the 5 books of Moses more today than ever before. He's having a successive effect upon us through him, through the successive generations of tzaddikim. And particularly it is the Rebbe in our generation having that effect. It's the cumulative effect, and also each tzaddik, so to speak, stands in the shoes of the previous generation. And that's what's happening now. That we are somehow being inspired to get closer, to do another mitzvah, to do tshuva, penitence, to come closer to Hashem. That's where it's coming from. I see it in my own life, like how I came to Chabad, how I came to the Rebbe. Sometimes I could think that I was just a smart guy. I made smart choices. Yeah. For some reason, my soul was chosen to have a different destiny. I wasn't raised and born with this. And for some reason, the Rebbe had compassion on me. And here I am today. That's what I really believe. And this is what the teachings are saying to me over here. And again, it's not incorporated in us. It's not internalized. So as you notice over here, it doesn't say over here you have to have very strong ropes, thick cords of ropes of love, of bonding to the tzaddik. Right? It doesn't say that over here. Previously, to have the love and awe and the faith, awe and love of God, that it should be internalized. And part of us, that we need real preparation, real engagement, real involvement. Excuse me. In order to get that from the tzaddik. But this doesn't say that. Because it's transcendent, it's not internalized. And it's expressing itself in tshuva and maisim tovim, penitence and good deeds, the act of doing another mitzvah. Powerful stuff. That's what I take over here. Let's see, we got some questions, comments, thoughts. Put 2 question marks, please, before, because I'm on my phone. I'm not... It's a little more difficult. I don't see any questions. Davida, did I miss something?
There is a question. I just got out of it.
Do you want to ask the question?
Yes, from Lori Leffler Good. She asks, other religions take some teachings from tzaddik and teachers and teach a perverse version. How does that happen?
Well, that's a good question. um, oh, okay. How does that happen? Well, I guess there's freedom of choice, and that's first of all. Secondly, we've learned that God creates everything on an equilibrium. There's day, there's night, there's up, there's down, there's good, there's bad. So just as that there's the power within the realm of good, there's the power within evil, and therefore in everything there has to be the opposite possible, right? There has to be the opposite that is a possibility, the complete opposite that is a possibility. And therefore, there's the possibility of the perversion of anything, right? Look, people take, they quote Isaiah, they quote from King David in Psalms and say, oh, look, here's the proof to, what's his name? Here's a proof, da-da-da-da. So you can take anything and pervert it, and you can have the masses following it, as we see. Truth is going to be very. If we remember that this world is being, remember we quoted in letter 25 and 26 both, that evil man has dominion over holy man, sacred man, to his detriment ultimately, because detriment meaning that ultimately holy man will prevail, meaning the holiness of God will prevail over the evil of this world, which is a power of klipa that God enables in this world, right? That God allows to be dominant in the times of exile. Exile meaning that the presence of God is, is imprisoned, and therefore negative forces have a greater power, as we see, right? We're living in a free world that's become totalitarian. Right, that was an unpaid political announcement. That's the. Thank you for the question. Any other questions, Batya?
Rena has a question, and she says, when I have a strong desire to do a mitzvah, can you explain that in depth? Thank you.
So I think, the explanation that we're giving here today, right? It's not necessarily the only reason why you would have a strong desire to do a mitzvah. But the explanation that we're giving today in today's teachings is because of the tzaddikim that have passed away. They influence our lives. If we are followers of them, they influence our lives in this manner that we're speaking, that encompasses us, that we're just sometimes just motivated for not a reason we can understand, and that can come from this righteous person that we're connected to, that they're still affecting our lives, and that it could be other reasons too. It could be something we're going through that is bringing us to come closer to Hashem. And it could be the fact that we're connected to this righteous person that is that soul, and everything that they accomplished in their lifetime is still accomplishing. And by the way, just to remind us that that's part of us too. The righteous is affecting those people that they're connected with, those who follow them. Our loved ones also are affecting us today, not in such a all-encompassing way, not in such a profound way, because they didn't live such a profound life as a righteous person does. And maybe they only affected us in, it's one thing to bring a child physically into this world, but to give them, spirituality, to give them a connection to God, that's a different thing. To give them Torah mitzvahs, that's a different thing. That's why, by the way, halachically interesting, that we need to respect and honor more our teacher, spiritual teacher, than even our own parents. If our parents only gave us physical life, but didn't give us Torah and mitzvahs, didn't give us a relationship to God, didn't give us that in our lives, but a teacher did, the Rebbe did, right? A teacher gave you spiritual life. Spiritual life is more important and more valuable than physical life. Now, you have to have physical life in order that you can have a spiritual life in this world. So, of course, there's no question. So you have to honor your parents. It's not about not honoring your parents. You have to honor them. You have to respect them. Absolutely. No question. That being said, if they were your teacher also, your mentor, and they gave you Torah mitzvahs, they gave you a connection and a path to God, so then they not only gave you physical life, but gave you spiritual life. But if they only gave you physical life and a teacher gave you spiritual life, then you have to honor and respect them even more than the parents that gave you physical life. Doesn't mean you're respecting your parents less. God forbid. That's not the point. But you have to respect even more the one who gave you spiritual life. That's an amazing, powerful idea. I hope that helps. Cool. Batya, I think John had a question. Do you mind reading it? I noticed as it passed by.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rabbi, fine. When the Tzaddikim pass away, they influence our lives, but does their passing positively influence the world?
Well, if they're influencing my life, isn't that a positive influence on the world? I mean, if they're influencing your life, then that's a positive influence. Now, of course, the more people that are connected to them, more people that, and as I mentioned, our dear Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe, there are more people connected to them today than even in their lifetime. There are more people learning Tanya today than in the lifetime of the Alter Rebbe. There are more people that are Chabad Hasidim and feel a connection and a devotion to the Rebbe, that the Rebbe is their Rebbe, than even when the Rebbe was physically alive before his passing, over 27 years ago. So that's pretty powerful. Statement of how they're bettering the world. The bettering the world is connecting to those people, to us, to me, to you. Okay. Any other questions, Batya?
That is it for now.
All right. Amazing. Anybody here in
Actually,
Clubhouse?
there is another question.
Sorry?
There is another question.
Go ahead.
Just came through from Haiti Simcha Martinez. She says, I met people that do respect the rabbi more than their parents, and they do not honor their parents.
That's not good.
What do you think about these people?
First of all, I'm not going to make any judgment on negative judgment on somebody. That's not my place to do that. But if they came to me and discussed with me, the issue, I would for sure tell them that they need to honor their parents. Now, by the way, there's a mistake. in what it means to honor your parents. If your parents tell you, what do you mean you're not going to eat in my kitchen just because it's not kosher? Got to honor your parents and eat in my kitchen. No, you don't. That's not called honor. That's actually a dishonor. To eat in their kitchen that's not kosher if you're Jewish, of course. If you're not Jewish, then you don't have to eat kosher, right? But if you're Jewish and you have decided that you're only going to eat kosher, and your mom says to you, what do you mean? For, 25 years you've been eating in my kitchen, and now you're trying to tell me you're not going to honor me and eat in my kitchen? You're dishonoring me? No, that's not called dishonor. The laws of honoring a parent is to act in an honorable way to them. So when you tell them that you're not going to eat in the kitchen, you tell them in an honorable, respectful manner. That is necessary. But the action of eating, people make a mistake further. If your mother tells you, I want you to marry this girl, do you have to listen? Honor your mother. No, that's not part of honoring. Honoring means that what you do it in an honorable way. You do it in a respectful way. Get them their, bring their shoes to them. Get them a cup of water, or get them a coffee. Serve them in that manner of menial tasks, not because they say to do something, you need to do that. No, that's not at all part of honoring a parent. That's a mistake that people make, and that needs to be understood. So if they're not eating in the mother's kitchen because they've decided to keep kosher, or they have decided to keep Shabbos and they're not driving, and the mother says, what do you mean? Saturday was always the day that we had family time, going to the mall together, and we did lunch together, and I paid for lunch, and you're not going to do this? That's not called dishonoring your parents. Actually, the Rebbe explains that that's a great honor, because the ultimate honor is to honor God. And if a parent doesn't keep kosher, doesn't keep Shabbos, and you've decided to, that is the greatest honor you can do for your parent, is the honor of God, which is the true honor of the parent. So, yes, we have to make sure that, when we say that they're not honoring their parents, what do we mean? If they're not speaking to them in an appropriate way, then yes, then I totally understood and agreed. All right. Simcha, thank you for that. That was a great question, and I hope that was illuminating. Bachi, anything else? She says she loved it. All right. Thank you.
No more questions thus far.
All right. All right, folks. Just to let you know that Sunday the class is going to be later. Okay. I'm just traveling. So it's going to be later. It'll probably be in the afternoon. What time exactly? I'm not certain. But I'll let you know in advance, of course. Okay? But just to be aware, it won't be at the usual 10:30. But it will be. It will be. God willing. God's help. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine. Yes, Rambam will be today. No, Rambam on Sunday will be regular time. Rambam will be regular time. Tanya probably be after that. It's, as always, a privilege and a pleasure. Truly a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Wishing you a wonderful day, good Erev Shabbos, and a wonderful Shabbos. Be well.